password is.
Mm-hmm. Hold on. Oops. Ready?
Yeah.
T, C.
T.
T is in Tom, C is in cat.
Yeah.
8715 D as in dog. 00 E as in Eric, A as in Apple, F as in Frank. 3. All right, I'm live now. Hi, everyone. Hi. So I'm going to give people a couple minutes to hop on and see who we get here. And then I'm going to have to like switch back and forth between my phone. If you're here, let me know that you're here. Say hi or like the post or something, just so I know that people are watching. And once we get a few more people, I will go ahead and get started. So yeah, but we're going to be talking about Photoshop and Lightroom, and we are going to be talking about photography. Any questions that you have, I'm here to answer them for you for the next, 45 minutes to an hour or so. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Paige, and I'm the owner of the Fat Photog. That's PH Fat. And I create courses, Lightroom presets, Photoshop actions, and all of it is geared towards mostly product photography. And so that's what I do. I've been an expert in Flourish almost since the very beginning. So I've been here for a while and I love it here. It's a really awesome, awesome group. So I'm excited to be here. So, hi guys. Okay, I'm seeing some people are saying hi and some people are watching. So the way this is going to work, this is just a Q&A. So if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know what you guys have questions about. We can talk about Photoshop, Lightroom. We can talk about mobile apps. Whatever you guys want to talk about, I am here to answer for you. Hi, Haley. Hi, Gabby. Hi, Angela. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm hoping with the late night time that I'll be able to catch people in several different time zones because it's not too late here, and it's and hello from the USA. So, right. So how is everybody feeling about their product photography these days? Are we feeling good? What is confusing you? Are there any new things that have come up? New sizes for anything like that? Okay. Oh, we got a question. So Gabby makes wooden signs, and she wants to know if there's a way to change the color of words in her picture. So yeah, Gabby, can you tell me, do you use Lightroom or Photoshop mostly? Because there's actually two ways to do that. So I'm going to pop over to Photoshop though, and I will just show you here in Photoshop how you can change colors in Photoshop, and then we'll pop over to Lightroom and I'll show you how you can do that in Lightroom as well. So I will say changing the colors of certain things, you do have more control over doing something like that in Photoshop versus doing it in Lightroom. So if you were in Photoshop, what you would want to do is you would want to add a hue saturation adjustment layer. And I always say that we want to use adjustment layers, not just go up to layer and then just add a new adjustment there, because that is going to be a destructive edit, and we want to do non-destructive editing. So you can see here when we make an adjustment layer, it gives us a layer mask, and so that means we can mask off anything we don't like with our changes. So when I add my hue adjustment layer, we want to open it up. You can see here, right here in this area are the properties. Sometimes you'll have like a little property window that'll shoot out here. Mine's right here. But if you don't see the properties, you can just go to window and then you can go to properties, and that will show you the properties. And so you can see here under master, if I start to slide this, it's going to change all of the colors. So that can be good if, that can be good sometimes if there's like a weird cast or the color is just really off. But you can also break down the channels. So we can break down the reds, yellows, greens, blues, cyans, and we can, change just the specific colors. So if I wanted to make a change just to the blue, I would go to the blues here, and I can then change the color of the blue, and that's going to let me kind of adjust the colors there. So that's how you can kind of change the colors, and you can isolate things out. So you can see here that we've changed the blue to kind of like a purple color, but you can see that it's also affected other areas of the image. So that's where the layer mask comes in. So now I'm going to click on this layer mask, and I'm going to press Command I or Control I if you have a PC. And then what I would be able to do is I would be able to just paint it over with a white paintbrush. So you would just want to make sure that your paintbrush is white. You want to make sure that your hardness is at 0. And then what you could do is you could paint back the change that you wanted. So you can see here that I'm painting that on the color change there. And I'm not, I actually don't, I usually use a tablet, and right now I have like my touchpad mouse thing, and it does not let me get very precise. So this looks a little crazy. You would obviously be a little bit more careful there, but you can see how we were able to kind of isolate and change the color. And then if we needed to, you can actually press Command over the layer mask. So let's turn this back on, press Command over the layer mask. So there's my, it kind of selected the area. So if I needed to fine tune it even more, I already have that cut out now. So now I could add another hue saturation adjustment, and I could fine tune the color even more that way. Or, you know, go down into the blues and, you know, change it there. So you could add another one now that you already have that mask made. So that's how you would do it in Photoshop. In Lightroom, the way that we can do it is, let me find a good one here. So I'm just going to pick a color that's like, that's really obvious here. So in Lightroom, what we have are the HSL sliders. And so the HSL stands for hue, saturation, and luminance. So this will allow you to fine-tune colors in Lightroom. So under the HSL sliders, which are right here, what you would do is, let's say I wanted to change the reds. If I needed to adjust the red colors, like maybe they're not really red, but for some reason my camera picked it up as red and it's actually more of a pink color, you can adjust things that way. So it lets you kind of shift hues a little bit. It doesn't let you go as far as you can in Photoshop, and you also don't have that masking ability. So I can't go in here and mask it off of the cookies in the back. It's going to change all of the red hues. You can also, you know, this is helpful if, you know, sometimes colors come out like really oversaturated. because your camera can't pick things up properly. So you can also go in and maybe adjust the saturation a little bit. So the HSL sliders are very cool and they're very good. But if you really need to do fine tuning, or you really need your colors to look really completely change the colors, not just change the hue a little bit, then you're going to want to go into Photoshop. Okay, I think we have a few more questions here. Okay. So, is it possible to change a darker wooden background and make it lighter without changing the product colors? I mainly use Lightroom, but do have Photoshop, yes. Okay, so yes, you can. And the way that you would do that is, I would suggest if you're going to do that where you don't want to affect the entire image, you're going to want to do that in Photoshop. And it's really actually very similar to what I just did with this picture. So where I changed the color of the lettering, you would do the same thing, except, so let me just delete these layers here. So you would do the same thing. So you can change anything. So like if I need to change, let's show you like an example. So let's say I just want to do like a levels adjustment and I want to make that background brighter. You can change anything in Photoshop and you can just mask it off of the rest. So I could go Command I. Well, actually, I don't want to do that. I just want to mask it off of the cup then. So I'm going to click my brush. I'm going to make it black. So I'm just pressing X on my keyboard. That changes between the foreground and the background over there. I'm going to get a bigger brush, and then I could just like brush it off of, the cup, and then the background is lighter. So that's how you can kind of isolate things. You can see how I isolated that in there. Now you do have, I don't know what kind of adjustments, if it's just like a little adjustment, like maybe you don't need to change the color, but maybe the color of the wood is appearing very dark in your picture where it's not actually that dark. You can do some selective adjustments in Lightroom, and that's using, we have the option of the brush tool, and then there's also a radial gradient and a linear gradient. So the brush tool would let you paint over an area. So you can see I'm painting over here and it's like super crazy looking because like it's bringing the exposure up really like a ton, but you can see that it's allowing you to kind of, you can make like an isolated change that way. And you can change the color a little bit. Like you can bring your saturation down and up, and you can also change the temp and the tint a little bit. So that might be enough if you're really just wanting to use Lightroom. That might be enough to change it. But if you need to do like a very, very precise change, then I definitely suggest that you're going to want to pull that image into Photoshop. And okay, so let's see. Can you show me how to fix the white balance? Yes, I can. So, my workflow, my personal workflow is I bring all of my images into Lightroom first, and I do all of my overall changes. And then anything I need to fine tune, or I need to be very specific, or I'm trying to be very, make a very artistic, photo with, a lot of like, if I'm trying to do like artistic things and make it look matte or something like that, then I bring it into Photoshop. But for product photography, like 99% of it can be done in Lightroom. And so that is where I would do my white balance changing. So I can just show you, it's super, super simple in Lightroom. What you're going to be able to do like 99% of the time, let me get a photo that has a bad white balance. So this photo, the white balance is off. It has like a yellow cast to it. So, but it was actually taken on a white background. So this right here is like a white background. So what I can do is just take this eyedropper tool right here in Lightroom and click it on the neutral part of the photo. You can see that it just instantly changes the white balance. So it's really cool. and it really, really is super fast. And then if I were taking a lot of photos like this and all of my settings were the same and all of them had the same weird white balance, what I can do is actually sync that over, I can sync that over all of my photos, and it'll kind of change everything all at once. So that is how you can change your white balance. Now, for me personally, I have a pretty good eye for white balance because I've been doing photography for like 15 years. So I have a pretty good eye. If you're someone who does not have a very good eye, or you're not sure if your white balance is correct, then I suggest that you shoot with a gray card. And I do have presentations in the club, I believe, on white balance, but you can also, that I did for Flourish, but if for some reason they're not there, you guys can go to my YouTube channel, and I'll post a link after I'm done with the video to my YouTube channel, because I also have the videos posted there, and they say like Flourish on them, so you'll know which ones they are. And you can watch those, and I go through how to use a gray card to help you set your white balance. But for most things, as long as you can find the neutral part of your photo, so like neutral is like gray or white, you'll be able to use that as your white balance. And then you'll, as long as what you're looking for is, does the product color look correct? So you may not be looking at everything overall. You want to be looking at, like, does the product itself look like the color it is in real life? And that's what you want to, make sure that you're doing. Okay. Let's see. I think I missed one here. Oh, yep. Okay. I haven't opened my shop yet. I have made a lot of items, and I have to photograph them all. I can't find my courage to start. I'm not very good at photography. Okay, so look, photography is one of those things, like, yes, there's an eye for photography and stuff, but in some ways, product photography is a little bit more technical. So, like, start like with I would start with like something simple, like try to make your photography like simple. Don't worry about, trying to do like a ton of like props or trying to make it very, fancy or like lifestyle photography. I would start with something simple, and just work on getting good lighting. Like the biggest thing that you can do to really help your photos and get a good outcome from the beginning is to start with a lot of light. You want to have a lot of light, because a lot of light is going to make it so you're just going to have a better overall image. But with having a lot of light, you want to make sure that it's soft light. So if you're shooting, that's why a lot of people will suggest using natural light, because natural light, like in your house, is diffused. It's being diffused by like windows and, and stuff. So the lighting inside your house, if you're using natural light, unless you're shooting like right in front of a window that has the sun like streaming through it, is going to be kind of nice and soft. If you're shooting outside in natural light, you want to find the areas of like open shade. So anything, or even, like some photographers really like shooting on cloudy days, because the cloud is working as like a giant like diffuser to the sun. So you need a lot of light for your camera to be like work at like optimal, to be like optimal performance. And diffuse light is good, because that's going to mean that you're not going to have harsh shadows and stuff. And then most importantly, you just need to do it. Like, you have to play with it. Like, I didn't pick up a camera and I become like this instantly great photographer. I look back at like the stuff that I shot like years and years ago, and it is horrible. And like the way I edited was just crazy. I had no idea what I was doing. But it was mostly because I was playing. Like, I was playing and I was learning from play. So I also really suggest to people, use your camera, use your phone, whatever it is that you're using. And, just take a day where you're going, go somewhere fun and just take pictures with your phone or your camera, and just try to, take pictures, take the whole product part of it out of it and the work part of it out of it, and just start to learn like, oh, if I, if I'm facing the sun, this is what happens. If I have my back to the sun, this is what happens. If I shoot in my house at noon, this is what the light looks like. So, that is what I suggest to do to get started with the photography. And then, just start doing it, because if you don't do it, you're never going to get better. So, I have like 15 years doing this, and, so it's something I've done for a really long time, and, and that's why I'm pretty good at it. But I wasn't good at it when I started, and I wouldn't be good at it now if I had just given up. So you have to just keep going. Just do it. And, you're going to take hundreds and hundreds of pictures, and it's going to be frustrating, but you'll eventually get it. So, all right. Okay. Beth asked, what's the easiest program to edit photos with? So my suggestions for editing, I've used a lot of programs in my life, and I've used Corel, I've used, just the stuff like built into your, computer. I've used the software that comes along with cameras. I've used everything, and I won't necessarily say that it is the absolute easiest thing to learn, but you're going to have to learn something. Like if you've never really edited a lot, and you've never used a lot of, and you've never used a lot of software programs, and you're new to photo editing, you're going to have to learn something. So I suggest learning on what I feel is like the best. It has the best algorithms. I've tested it against so many other things, is Lightroom and Photoshop, and just start there. I'm not saying they're the easiest programs, but I don't really think, Lightroom I feel is pretty easy, to use. I think Photoshop is overwhelming because you can do so much with it. And I think people are like, oh, I need to learn all of this. And you don't need to learn all of it. Like you really just need to learn like 4 things, and that'll get you started. And I do have a video, for Photoshop. It's called the 5 first things that you need to learn in Photoshop. And really, if you know those 5 things in Photoshop, you can edit like 90% of your photos. So, and in Lightroom too, I have lots of videos on Lightroom. So, so that's what I suggest. So, Photoshop has a photography plan. It's a monthly subscription. I know some people are like totally against that. It's $10 a month, and I may get like, don't at me, don't yell at me, but like if your business can't sustain $10 a month to, get proper editing software, and not just proper editing software, but like the tools in Lightroom for like batch editing and stuff will save you so much time if you learn them. Like you can literally edit your photos in like minutes versus hours. So like if your business can't support that, then, you may need to like rethink some things. Cause I don't know, that sounds harsh, and maybe that's not, I sometimes come across harsh, but I don't mean that in a harsh way. I just mean that it's important. These are tools that are going to save you time. And if you are saving time on the back end doing something you don't really like doing, like editing, and you're able to batch edit, and you're able to do those processes and do them very quickly, then you're going to be able to have more time to work on the stuff that is, that you like to do, like the creating and stuff like that. And time is money. If I can save, there are things that, I have to pay for in my business. Like I recently, so I have my website on WordPress, and it was great. And I love WordPress, and I could do it and everything, but it was hours and hours of work and keeping up on everything. And so it was much cheaper to have my WordPress website. Like I could do my WordPress website and a fraction of the cost that it costs for my current website. But my current website, everything is taken care of for me. Like it literally, I can go in, I don't have to worry about viruses or people attacking it or anything. And it was a very big investment that I was like, do I really want to do this? But in the long run, it's saved me so much more time, and I've been able to do so much more, create new courses. I just created a preset thing, stuff that I wouldn't have had time to do if I would have just been like bootstrapping my WordPress. So are there free programs out there? Sure. There's free editing programs. and all of that. But I really truly feel, and I've tried them all, and I've been doing this for a really long time, that, you know, Lightroom and Photoshop are really where it's at as far as eventually getting into a workflow that's going to be very quick and easy for you. Now, if you really absolutely need something free, then I suggest on your phone, Lightroom Mobile. There's a free version of the app, and it's very, very powerful. You can do batch editing to a degree, which will save you time. And, so that's what I would suggest for that. So, all right. So that was my little Photoshop rant. All right. Okay. Okay. Tiffany says, I missed the beginning. Not sure if this is subject, but wondering about the most efficient way to work with mockups. If I have a ton of designs to add to my mockups, looking for the most effective, least time consuming way. I currently use AI, but willing to start mastering Photoshop if that's the best way. Yes. So the answer is yes. Photoshop is the best way to do mockups. The reason being smart objects. Smart objects are going to save you a lot of time. And I actually have a mockup up on here. Let me just kind of delete what I was doing here. So in Photoshop, they have what are called smart objects. They're going to save you so much time. So whether you buy a mockup or whether you make your own mockups, and I do have a course called Mockup Mania that teaches you how to make a mockup of basically just about anything. If you follow those steps, it's going to it breaks everything down, and how to make mockups, you know, from the very simplest mockups like on a piece of paper to advanced mockups on wooden signs. But the thing with Photoshop is, and the smart objects, is that they really save you time. So once you create a mockup or once you buy a mockup, the only thing you have to change is the mockup layer. So this would be like a standard mockup. So this is my picture that I took of this mug. And then I made the mockup area here on the mug. I warped it so the design actually wraps around the mug and it's not just like pasted on there, which always looks a little fake. And then I also have a mood layer that I added, which is like the shading from the actual photo, and then my soft light, which just kind of helps blend everything together. And this is all stuff I cover in my course on why I do it and why it makes it look more realistic. So once I built this mockup, so that takes, you know, maybe it takes you like 10 minutes. But now if I want to change my design on the mockup, it's so easy. All I have to do is double click here. And then right here, it says your design here. I would go to File, Place Embedded. Let me try to find something that I can place on here that is a design. So we'll just, so we'll place this. So then I would go to Place. I'm going to turn off this one. Get it, you know, just size it how I want it. Double click, save. I just did Command S. I saved it. So now there it is on the mug. So what I can do is very quickly, and then what I would do is just I would go File, quick export to PNG, save my file, and go through and do that. So once you have that smart object layer, you're going to be able to just go in, swap them, swap them, swap them, swap them. It makes it much, much easier to do your mockups than having to start from scratch or like like I didn't have to rewarp anything because that warp is already built into the smart objects. So smart objects, Photoshop, that's really the way to go with mockups. And if you buy your mockups, you're really not going to have to know much. Like it's really that simple. Like you just like double click, paste the image, save it. So you're not really going to have to like be that into Photoshop to do it. But like I said, I do have that course. And there is like a little free version. I'll post that, I'll post that here when I'm done. I have like a little free, preview that doesn't go into like the smart objects and stuff, but it does show you how to do like the warping and stuff. And then I also have my full course, which like goes through like everything, like even like last etched mockups and stuff and embroidered mockups. So, yeah. All right. See what else we have here. Yes, Gabby, I will link my 5 most used, my 5 to start with in Photoshop. I will link that. I think it is in the club, like if you search my name, but I know sometimes that's hard to like search Photoshop. Um, okay, Brittany says, your gray card and batch editing video has helped so much. She said something about tone curve the other day when I asked in the club about my photos. I'd like to know how to use that, but I was so confused when I tried. Okay, so tone curve, let's go back over to Lightroom. So right here in Lightroom is your tone curve. Now, if you are familiar with curves in Photoshop, it's somewhat similar to curves in Photoshop. But basically, if you lift the middle, that's going to basically be your midtones. And then this is kind of you can see up here in your you can see up here in the histogram, it kind of shows you like what part of the histogram it's like working with. So like this is like bringing down, like this would like kind of like bring down the highlights. And this would so but and then you can also like make it more contrasty too. So like if you like bring up the tone curve and then like, so this is going to be like the highlights here. This is going to be the blacks. So you can kind of like, move it around that way. But like typically when I use the tone curve, I'm not usually adding contrast with the tone curve. I'm usually just like bringing it up because I like the way that it really like kind of softens everything. So that's usually what I do when I use the tone curve. And you can see like when I use the tone curve like this, it kind of gives it like this overall softness where if I just am boosting the shadows, it kind of like when you boost the shadows, it does this, it's similar. But when you just boost the tone curve like that, it's more, I mean, it's basically doing pretty much the same thing, but there's like, you just have like a little bit more control. Like if you move it up, it's going to boost it more in the highlights. If you move it down, it's going to boost it more in the blacks. And then if you move it in the middle, it's going to boost it more in the shadows. So it just gives you like a little bit, it's just like an easy way so you don't have to like mess with all of the sliders. But yeah, so that's the tone curve. And I mean, yeah, so, all right. All right. All right. So who has other questions? Oh, another thing, while we're talking about changing things, I don't know if you guys know this, but let me just reset this here. So one thing you can do, like if you, there's so many different ways to do things, and it's basically just boils down to like what makes sense for you. But like one thing that you can do, if you like your histogram here, you can like move things in the histogram. Like if you want to, if you understand histograms, I don't know if anybody knew this, but you can move things actually in the histogram to edit. So that's kind of fun. Yeah, so I'd use that instead of upping the shadows. I usually do that first, and then I'll usually do that first, and then if I need more, like in the shadows, then I'll boost the shadows. But that's like when I edit a photo, like if I was going to edit this photo, so let me just start from the beginning. So like if I was going to edit this photo, I would do my white balance, then I would boost my tone curve, and then I'd probably bring down the highlights a little bit and bring the shadows up just a tiny bit more. And then just to add some contrast back, I'd bring down the blacks. So like that's how I would edit this photo. So like I usually just do the tone curve to give it like a pop of light because I like very light and bright images. And then I kind of do like the individual things in the sliders. So it really just depends on, you know, you can also do it by like boosting the shadows. It's, you know, what you're comfortable with. But I usually do the tone curve first and then boost the shadows because it gives you like a little bit more, push. And then if you ever want to see your, let's see here. I don't want to do that. Stop. There you go. If you ever want to see your before and after, like as you're editing, you can do that here with these, and you can like do splits and stuff. I don't know if you guys know that, to kind of give you befores and afters. It's just a fun little tool there. Does everybody like my really cool glass? So we usually use mason jars for glasses, but we've broken a lot of mason jars recently. And so I was just like, these salsa jars are about the size of mason jars. So those are our new glasses. All right, let's see. I'm going to see here if there are any more questions. Oops. Here, I'm going to get my, while I'm waiting for, okay. So while I'm waiting for questions, I'm going to run over to, what is going on here? Okay. I'm going to run over, before I forget, I'm going to run over to YouTube and I'm going to post those videos for you guys here in the comments. So, go. Let's see. Okay, 5 stool. Okay. So, this is the 5 tools here. Okay. So, this one I'm just posting right here. This is the 5 tools for Photoshop to get started with that I just posted there in the comments. And then, what was the other one? Well, and then I'll just like post a link to my, well, okay. So if you go to that one, then you'll be linked to my channel, so you can find all of my other videos. So I have lots and lots of Photoshop and Lightroom videos that should be able to help you out. Oh, you know, while I'm waiting for questions, I don't know if any of you have this question, but I have seen like 3 times in the past week, people have been asking about presets in Lightroom and what they are and what they do and how they work. And so I can just kind of show you real quick presets and what they are and how they work and why you may want to use a preset. So presets, you can think of them as like a recipe. So, you know, when you cook, you use a recipe because if you want, you know, if you have a chocolate cake that you like and you want it to turn out the same every single time, you want to use a recipe to make it. So it's kind of the same with Photoshop, with Lightroom. So it starts on the front end. You want to make sure that you are, and, you know, like when you're, you know, taking your photos, that you're using manual settings and you're getting proper exposure in camera. But then on the back end in Lightroom, by using a preset, it basically is like a tone recipe for your images and is going to allow all of your images to be consistent. So let me just kind of show you here. So like what you would want to do, Just reset this. Okay. So you can see here, here's this image, and the white balance is pretty good on this. So like if I press this, this is a reset. This is a preset. So that's going to give kind of like the tone recipe that I want. And then if I need to do any minor adjustments, I can go through and do those minor adjustments, but it has that overall tone that I want. So the same thing with this photo, it's like a different type of photo. This one, what I would do first is do the white balance, and then when I press the preset, it's giving it that same tone. And then if I go to like, let's find like this image here, same thing. So I press the preset and it's giving it that same tonal look. So presets allow you to create images, even though all of the images are a little bit different, or even different types of images, like if you're, your products versus, lifestyle shots or fun like sales images and stuff like that. It's allowing you to create like a very consistent look for your brand and all of your brand images. So that's where presets can come in. Another thing is you can really speed up your editing process, because you can, so like I just applied that preset there, and then let's say, okay, so I did that preset and all of that looks pretty good. So now what I want to do, I have this whole set of images where all of the settings are the same. So now I'm going to just select them all, and I'm going to go to sync, and I'm going to press synchronize. And so now what it's going to do is it's going to go through and it's going to edit all of those photos in just a few seconds. So it just went through, edited all those photos. And now all I have to do is go through the photos and see if there's any that I need to do any fine tuning with. But as you can see, all of the photos look very consistent in their editing, because I use those presets. So that's another way that they really come in handy. And then like the third thing to think about, maybe you're not there yet, or maybe you are, maybe you have a team of people. If you do, it's a really nice way to be able to delegate some of that editing work, because you have a set of presets that you're using. So if they use the same couple presets on all of your photos, it's going to give your photos a very nice consistent look, even though you're not the person specifically editing them. And so that's kind of presets and what they do, and how they work. I do have a set of presets that I just let me reset these, that I just came out with, and it's called the Light and Bright collection. So these presets are very much meant to give that nice light, bright look. And you can see here how they work. So you just like go through, find the preset that you like. And the nice thing about these is I also added bonus presets. So this would be like the overall preset, and then I made it very easy. Like if it was a little bit too bright, you could just press like the exposure down one, and then that would allow you to bring the exposure down a little bit. Okay, so Angela asked, they only work in Lightroom. So yeah, these presets work in Lightroom. So they work in Lightroom Classic CC. That's what I have open now. They work in Lightroom CC, which is another version of Lightroom for your desktop. It's very confusing. And then they work in Lightroom Mobile on your phone, whether you have the free version or the paid version. They work in Lightroom Mobile. So you can use them on your computer or on your phone, which is really nice because you're going to be able to get consistent images wherever you are. So they work on that. Now I do have Photoshop actions as well. So like if you're a Photoshop person, I do have Photoshop actions. I have a couple different sets. I have my picture perfect fixes, which basically focus on just creating really nice, clean edits. So they don't do anything super artistic or anything, but they focus on, very quickly if you need to make a background white or you need to boost your exposure, things like that. So they're just, those very clean edit fixes to Photoshop. And then I also have a winter kit, which is really nice if you do any modeled photography. And we all know that we have to take our product photos like several months in advance of when we're selling things. So people are starting to take, product photos and getting their stuff out for Christmas now, but it's summer. So, there's winter magic, and it actually will create snow and everything and make your photos look like they were taken in the winter. And then I also have the autumn magic set too, which again adds all of those tones and everything that make your photos look like you took pictures in the fall. And woo, hi, Linda. Thank you for all the love. And I can just show you like an example of those. Like I'll pull up my website. There we go. So you can see here, there's like a little video, I guess. I was trying to show you the thing. But you can see an autumn magic. This is kind of, let me zoom in here. So like in autumn magic, you see in the before, like it's very green, but in the autumn magic, it made it like all those fall tones. And the same with, the winter magic. You can see here, like very green. But here it's like muted greens and you have that snow and stuff. So, those are also some Photoshop, presets that I have. And right now I am running a sale in my shop. So everything is, up to 75% off if you use the, code Summer Fling, all one word. And so if you are interested in anything, you can, head over to my shop and go shopping because now is a great time to buy. But yeah, so those are the Photoshop actions. And then I also have the Lightroom presets. Okay, so Linda asks, is it possible to take good pictures of crystals using an iPhone? Yeah, I mean, you can definitely take pictures of crystals using an iPhone. You're just going to have to be able, you're going to want a lot of light and you're going to have to find like the right angle, and everything of where to take the pictures. But yeah, I mean, as long as you have the light, I mean, it's still, I don't know what kind of crystals, but I mean, I've taken like pretty pictures of like rings and stuff like that with my iPhone. So you can definitely do it. You're probably going to have to play around with, where's the best place to take the picture where you have like the light that's hitting the crystal the right way and like bouncing off and making that like crystally look, in your iPhone. But yeah, I mean, iPhones are pretty powerful. You can do a lot with them. They definitely have their limitations, but I mean, camera phones these days are crazy. So, it's just, it's all trial and error, and it's trial and error, and it's, just playing around and figuring out, the right formula. So, what other questions can I answer for you guys? Let's see. Actually, I should probably refresh this. You're welcome, Linda. Has everybody had a chance to meet Linda Nance yet? She's like an angel here on earth. I just have to tell you guys. I first met her when I went to the Atlanta meetup, way back when, and then I missed the last two, and then I just saw her again in New York, and she's just one of my most favorite people in the whole world. So if you guys ever have a chance to go to any kind of Flourish meetup where she's there, like, you definitely should, because she's awesome. So, yeah, okay. So I have about 10 more minutes here. So let me know your last couple questions. There are no bad questions. Anything you guys want to know, anything you've ever wanted to know, even if it's photography, editing, anything. You have 10 more minutes, but I'm going to try to go live more here too. So hopefully I'll be able to do this at least every couple weeks, hopefully. It's just getting all of the kids to bed at the same time, and then my household has to kind of go quiet too. So that can be the problem. Oh, come on. Somebody has to have another question. So, guys, I have to just brag. This is my baby, and she is now like 18 months old, and she was just like a little itty bitty chubby thing there, and she's so big now. I don't even know if I have like a recent picture of her, but it like makes me really sad when I look at these pictures because she's so big now, and she was just like such an itty bitty little thing there. And okay, what is a good beginner camera? A good beginner camera, I don't really like believe in like beginner cameras per se. Like, I think it's good to start out with, like, I feel like everybody, like, if you want to take good pictures, just start with a digital SLR and like a beginner lens. So, I always suggest that people buy like the camera body, just buy like the camera body itself. Like, don't buy those kits, because typically they come with like the kit lenses and they're not that great. And a lot of times you can get like a camera body and like a nice prime lens for less than what those kits cost. So I personally love mirrorless cameras. So I guess I would call like a mirrorless camera could be like a good beginner camera because they're smaller. I actually have my camera here, so let me grab it. Can you see my camera? So this is my camera. This is a mirrorless camera, and it's much smaller, much lighter than a digital SLR. So I do suggest mirrorless cameras like most of the time because I feel like they're less. Now this has like a pretty big lens, but this is like the biggest lens I have. But like most of the lenses are super tiny. Let me just show you. Here. All right. So, okay. Do you see how tiny this lens is? Like, it's so tiny. It's so light. So, as far as like for beginners, it's less intimidating because it doesn't seem like this huge camera. But as far as like function, it has all of the function that you would get in a big digital SLR, like your Canons, your Nikons. So I shoot with Olympus because I love Olympus. My very first camera was a film camera, Olympus. Then like my very first digital camera was an Olympus. And so, I did shoot Canon for a really long time. But I just love Olympus now. It's like it's my new jam. So anyways, this is my mirrorless camera. I do suggest like mirrorlesses if you're like intimidated by what I call big girl cameras. But I don't suggest going with like a point and shoot. Like some people might think, oh, a point and shoot is a nice beginner camera because it's, it's easy. You just point and shoot. But a point and shoot camera, like I said, cell phone cameras are getting like crazy amazing. So like there's really not a ton of difference between, other than like sensor size, yes, but really, like a point and shoot camera is basically like what you're carrying around in your pocket. So like if you're just like, I just want a point and shoot camera, like just keep using your iPhone until you can save up for like a nice digital SLR or mirrorless camera. But what I say is, start with what's in your budget. Look at what you want out of a camera. So, is having Wi-Fi in your camera important to you? So, I don't know if any of you guys were in like the Flourish Digital during the conference, or even if you were at the conference. So the whole time we were at the conference, I was taking pictures and I was posting those pictures in real time of the conference because I had my Wi-Fi to my camera hooked up to my phone. I had my Lightroom presets in my Lightroom mobile. And so I was editing, I was pulling those pictures from my camera right onto my phone, editing them and posting them in real time. So like if something like that seems like something that would be important to you, then, look for a camera that has, the Wi-Fi ability. If, small size is important to you, then look for a mirrorless camera because they're going to be a heck of a lot smaller. If price is like the most important thing, then like, those Canon Rebels and the Nikon, the entry level Nikons, you can usually find like super awesome deals on them. And so it's just like, what's the most important? What features are you looking for? The things that I would say you absolutely need to have in a camera are the ability to have interchangeable lenses, because that means you will not outgrow your camera very quickly, because you will be able to upgrade your lenses. And also the ability to shoot in manual. So that means you can set your aperture, your ISO, and your shutter speed. And then also the ability to shoot in RAW. So those are like the 3 things that I think a camera needs to have. And then everything else is just kind of like gravy. So those are the things that you want to look for, in a camera. As long as you have those 3 things, then you can go with, what else is important to you. But if you start with like a camera body and a nice prime lens, that's really going to be a really great place to start. And by a prime lens, I mean a lens. So this is a prime lens. It's a 45 millimeter lens. It has no zoom. So I can't zoom in and out on it. Like it has no zoom. This is just the focus ring. And so it only shoots at one focal length. So if I want to get closer or farther away, I have to move my body. But it's what we call a fast lens because it shoots at a lower aperture. So the minimum aperture on this is 1.8, which is going to give me like a really nice shallow depth of field. It's going to create that blurry background. So this is going to do a lot more creativity wise, and it's going to do a lot more. If I need to let more light in, I can really let more light in, where a zoom lens, this is my zoom lens here. So this is a nice zoom lens. This is my telephoto zoom lens. So this goes from 40 millimeters to 150. So I can zoom in and out on something. But my minimum aperture on this one is 4, and it's 4 to 5.6. So if I'm zoomed all the way in, like 5.6 is going to be where my lowest aperture, which means I'm not going to get a very shallow depth of field. It's quality wise. Prime lenses are built a little bit better. Like this lens is a bigger lens, but it's lighter. It's all plastic. It doesn't have any glass in it. So it's not the best quality lens. This lens is heavier. Even though it's like pretty tiny, it's heavy. It has glass construction. The images that come out of it are sharper. So, but it's still a fairly like inexpensive lens. It's like an entry, kind of like an entry level lens. And if you have like a Nikon or a Canon, they have these, they call them nifty 50s. They're like around $100, $150, 50 millimeter lenses, that are real nice. So, yeah, so I think, I'm just going to see if we got a couple more minutes here. I'm going to see if any other questions. I probably have time for one more question if anybody has anything. And, if not, I will just say good night. So the worst part of, I think, Facebook Live is that there's a delay. Because I know, like, I'm saying something, I'm like, if you have any more questions, and it's like 30 seconds before you guys see that. So then I have to do this, like, little waiting game. So, you know, I did, it was a little while ago, and I've gotten some new equipment, and I can't remember if I did it in Flourish or if I did it in my Facebook group, but I did do a thing where I showed, what's in my camera bag. So I don't know if you guys would be interested in that again, but I'd be willing to do that, show you guys what's in my bag, what kind of lenses I have, what kind of equipment I have, and like what I use it for and why. So if that's something you guys would like to see, just let me know. And, if you guys are watching the replay and you have questions as I'm going through stuff, just pop the questions in the comments. I'll be checking back in, so I can go ahead and answer those. And I'm going to give you guys like 30 more seconds to ask one more question. And if you don't, then I'm just going to say goodbye. But I just don't want to like miss out on the thing. Do I know how long will this live be available for replay? Well, when I end this, I use Ecamm Live. When I end it, I think it'll post it automatically. And then, as long as Laura and Sarah leave it up, it'll be available for replay. So you should be able to replay it like indefinitely. And then I can post it to to YouTube too, and put a YouTube link, and then I'll just keep it on my YouTube channel for like forever. So, all right. So I think that's everything for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all learned something. And, so like I said, I'm Paige. I'm the Fat Photog. If you guys are looking for presets or, Photoshop courses or anything, I do have, my shop on sale right now. I'm actually offering like a super crazy deal on my entire shop. So that's like all of the courses I have, all of my presets, all of my actions, and even my new course that's coming out in September, which is all about Lightroom, on sale in the shop. It's on sale right now for $150, which is like over 75% off if you were to buy everything individually. And then I also have a special bonus if you purchase that. It's called the whole shebang. So if you buy that, then I'm also giving you guys one-on-one access to me on Voxer, which is like a walkie-talkie app. So like if you have a question, you can just like ask me, and I get back to you super fast, and sometimes like right away. So it's like kind of carrying me around in your pocket, which I think it's pretty cool, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's something I just started offering. But if you've already bought some of my products, but maybe you wanted to add to your collection, like I said, everything on right now is on sale. So you just use the code SummerFling, and you'll save 50 to 75% on everything. And it's super awesome. And so you guys can check that out. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And if you have any questions, if you're watching the replay, just type them in the box and I will get back to you. So thanks so much. Bye, guys.